Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Everyone Loves Guitar. I love when I start out the show messing the name of my show up. With a really interesting guest today, super bright guy, incredible player. I'm really proud to have Dani Rabin on the show. He's one of these guys that's like, when I first heard him, like, where the hell, how have I not heard of this guy? He's a phenomenal guitarist and songwriter, and his band is incredibly tight, and they're very successful, and they got a nice catalog, so I'm really glad they're here, and you need to know about them. The band is called Marbin. Dani is a guitarist and co-founder. They're a jazz rock band. Let me give you a brief thumbnail sketch of Dani. He was born in La Jolla, California, but he grew up in Rehovot, Israel, moved back to the States in 2003 to study at Berklee. In 2007, he met another Danny Markovitch, and they've co-founded and started the band Marbin. If you haven't heard them, you really need to check them out right away. The band is spelled Marbin. They're a progressive jazz rock band based out of Chicago. They started touring extensively in 2011, all by themselves, booking gigs. They built a massive fan base along the way. They've got 7 albums out. This is amazing. An independent
Not
band.
7. Now, this is outdated. It's 12 now.
12. I'm sorry. 12 out.
Okay.
You know what? Because I looked and I saw some that were not on the list. I saw some on your list that were not on the list I found. So, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
12 albums. How many bands released 12 albums in 10 years that are independent? I mean, these guys are really doing great. Their most recent album is a double album. It's called Russian Dolls and 10 Years in the Sun. They also have a live record, which I checked out. It's phenomenal. It's called Shreddin' at Sweetwater, which was recorded in Sweetwater Studios in Chicago, I believe. Aren't they in there?
They're
in Indiana, right?
Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Indiana. They're incredibly tight. Each of the members is really talented. These guys know how to groove, man. Their rhythm section is on it. I know they've had a couple of changes, but man, their rhythm section is really tight and really, really good. And the two Dannys, the sax player and Dani Rabin, the guitar player that we have here, they do a great job, sort of like call and response and supporting each other. And when you guys play the same lines, that's where,
yeah, the unison stuff.
Yeah, that usually that's not, but whatever it is with you guys, it's like magic when you do that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a product of playing together so much. There's a certain kind of, unisons in general are just, they're hard to pull off because they require, when you play a line, especially as a guitar player, you really like to vibrate notes, to shake them, to, bend, do all these articulations. And some of that's important when you're playing with somebody else exactly at the same time, but also that person needs to do the same kinds of things to create the blend. So there needs to be, it's not just hitting the notes in time, it's how you hit them to make one sound. And you just have to be very synchronized with a person to get it really right.
Well, you guys are so tight. And I mean, I know obviously this is a lot of years of practice, as you said, but man, it's phenomenal. They do, you're welcome. Thank you. And they do a fantastic job of blending jazz and rock with pretty much each style sharing equal billing. Again, Dani Rabin is a tremendous guitarist. I want more people to discover him and Marbin. So thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. And just to add one thing, we did release one album since you checked that thing. We have a gypsy jazz album. It's kind of like Django Reinhardt-y.
Yeah.
Called Fernweh, Fernweh, and it just came out on streaming on Spotify. So it's all acoustic gypsy jazz stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Fernweh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're born in La Jolla and then you grew up in Israel. How old? You're not the first guy I've had on the show who's had a journey like that. How old? Yeah. I mean, I think, do you know Nir Felder?
I do know him. Yeah. We went to school together.
Okay. I think Nir had the same thing. Wasn't he born here? And then, or was he born?
I think he was born there and they came here.
Okay.
I think it's the opposite journey. I don't think he grew up in Israel because he doesn't speak any Hebrew. They moved me. My parents were they're academics and they were living in San Diego. And then when I was 2 weeks old, they relocated back to Israel. They're Israeli. So I spent from 2 weeks till about I was 18 in Israel.
What made them move
just
back?
To get my passport.
They just wanted to have you in Israel.
Yeah, I think my dad was going through some sort of realization that this is not like where he wants his children to
Yeah,
grow,
sure, I can understand.
and you know, not the culture that he kind of feels like he belongs to, and realizing that if they stay, you know, if we stay, we stay.
Hmm.
And he just missed Israel. He said when I talked to him about it, he always says it was the Israeli music that got him. You know, like he'd listen to like songs, made him real nostalgic, realize kind of where he belongs, and really, you know, relocated. Made my mom move, who really liked it in the West Coast, so she was pretty much kicking and screaming to stay. But I think I'm glad they did. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I certainly am grateful to have grown up in Israel as opposed to California. I feel like
Sure.
I could have become a very different kind of person. Could have been talking about granola bars and
Fair enough,
whatever
man.
these guys do. My vegan diet could have been
Oh my
alternative
God. Oh,
reality.
yeah,
Just
I
like a
hear you,
dude
man.
like talk to you about my Pilates instructor.
Oh my God. I hear you, man. I hear you. Uh, that being said, I had a question now that you made me laugh so hard I forgot
I
it.
don't mean to judge these Californians, but you know who you are. You know who you are. If you're one of those dudes
uh,
doing the high speak.
you're too funny, man. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. You mentioned Israeli music. What's really interesting is you guys will throw in. I don't know the. I don't
Yeah.
know. I hear it. I don't know what makes it like. Is it a different scale or what? But you occasionally you throw in a line of
Sure.
Israeli melody, and it's very. It's like
Yeah.
enough to keep it interesting, but
Well,
not too
yeah, yeah.
much.
Okay. So to break it down, like
Yeah, please.
I guess Israeli music. Well, Israel, right? People who don't know the history, or are getting a very strange version of it from Twitter. You know, the country started around 1948. And what happened was Jews from all over the world really came there, but mainly from Europe and from the Arab countries. My
Hmm.
family, half of it is Lithuanian, half is Romanian. And there was a real kind of this this drive to generate culture in a very short time, to become national, right? And to make a nation. It's not just about producing an army and starting an economy. There's also the cultural side of it. So there are a lot of poets and a lot of musicians and a lot of collaborations of people who are just trying to generate pop music of the time, of the 40s, 50s, 60s. And it's a lot like Tin Pan Alley, where you had a lot of collaborations between, you know, musicians with a classical background like Gershwin and Ira Gershwin, right? Like a lyricist from the literary world. So the Israeli poets and the Israeli classical composers basically were teaming up to make radio friendly 3 5 minute songs, something like that. And the result was some sort of blend between, I would say, Russian folklore, classical inspired music, maybe Polish, like Chopin, romantic music, stuff like that, with just, but the rhyme schemes followed the structure of Hebrew, right? Just when you're writing lyrics, when you're speaking English, a lot of things are 1 or 2 syllable words, pa 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 pa, right?
Yeah.
When you're speaking in Hebrew, our words are longer, and the rhythms you have to generate are a little bit curvier. And when you're just writing lines, writing down words, uh, the phrasing gets a little more bouncy, depending on the kind of language you speak. And English lyrics tend to dictate a squarer type of melody. So I think it's a combination of really that Russian side of classical music, you know, with a lot of gypsy jazz has very similar cadences. Tango music has a lot of similar harmonic progressions. When I say cadences, I mean like minor keys, a lot of minor 2 5 1s, a lot of like some sub fives. Like there's a lot of that later classical music harmony in terms of the chord structures, and there's something a little bit different going on with the rhythm. Now, when you're thinking about Israel, a lot of people might think more about the Middle Eastern, the Arab sound, in the music. We don't have that in our music, barely at all. And we actually, I
No,
mean,
it's the
we
Russian.
grew up listening to,
It's definitely more the
it's
Russian.
Eastern European.
Yeah, right.
That's our, that's sort of what we like. Not that we weren't exposed to the Mediterranean stuff. We just grew up detesting it. And I always feel like when people try to evoke that sound, they do the most cliche things. We call it the spirit of the camel. You never want to evoke the spirit of the camel in your lines. You know what I mean? When you're playing that harmonic minor shit, just sounds so cheesy. Like it's just fucking, I hate it. I hate it. So it's cringy. It's so cringy when somebody puts like those, like Joe Zawinul, like putting like that yarmulke and then goes all worldy. He killed it. But people that dress up like that, and
it's different. Yeah, man. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you grow up
I think
with,
stuff
the
like
worst
that
songs on the radio sounding like that.
Yeah. But I think the stuff like that in general is like, if it's authentic, if you have to, you know what I mean? If it's authentic, it's fine. If it's done because you want to look like something else or appear to be something else, it's a bit off-putting,
Right.
to me anyway.
But absolutely. But the authentic thing is trying to do something well. That's authentic, right? It could be an Indian guy, or it could be like a Chinese guy, but I don't give a shit like where you're from or what you do. You just sit down in a room with maybe a pad of paper and an instrument. You're trying to do something well. That's the authentic pursuit. The inauthentic pursuit's like, oh, watch, he's eating with his hands. How authentic.
Oh my God.
It's like that shit, put the music, you know what I mean? I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. You're so funny.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
oh
like,
my God. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So you came back here. That was a very funny answer and a very accurate answer. So thank you. You come back here 2003 to study at Berklee. How did life in Israel differ from life in the States?
Well, I didn't really live life in Israel. I came when I was almost 18. So I kind of left just being a kid, just a kid, I was really into weed when I was like really young, and then I got into
Is that
guitar,
popular in
and
Israel?
I realized that it was when I was in high school.
Really? Is it legal now?
I went through. Oh, no, no,
it's not.
No,
really?
It's still not. No. Yeah, we were always kind of it was interesting though, because we had like a special, like, part of the police. It was like child police were just chasing around trying to find our weed. So
that's amazing. With all the shit they had going on there, that would not seem to be very high on the radar.
Oh yeah. It was a pursuit, So, but I think that was a big factor for me, like really getting deep into music. Because I remember when I was 14, I smoked weed and I went to my bedroom. I was already kind of into metal and I was playing guitar. But I was listening to Maximum Security by Tony McAlpine and laying in bed. And it was the first time I just got it. Like, I just understood what
you
was
thought
awesome.
You got it.
Oh, yeah, I thought I got it, right. But it was all just fucking, it was all alive. Like the lines, and he was like shredding piano and then shredding guitar with that like humbucker, like smooth high gain tone, just shredding. I was just like, this is, I didn't even have a conception of a career. It wasn't like I want to make my living. I don't understand children that talk that way. It's like, I don't even know what money is. I just want to shred,
Yeah. That is a weird thing.
It just blew my mind. Yeah, when people are like, immediately I knew that's what I want to make for a living. It's like, really? It's like, do you know, like you were thinking about your 401k? And immediately I went to my accountant.
Oh my God.
It's so fucked up. Yeah, it's like all I knew is that I wanted to shred. I wanted to move my fingers really fast. I didn't even care if women were interested in it. I wasn't one of those morons that was like, it's like I wanted to impress the girls. It's like,
you just wanted to shred.
Get some money if you want to impress the girls.
Yeah.
Jesus, like as a 14-year-old, I knew that. Just wanted to, like, I wanted what every true shredder wants, to impress the guys.
Yeah. You wanted to just shred.
Yeah,
Oh,
just to shred, just to deliver the experience. That's what I wanted. Like the guy in my stereo system was delivering this mind melting experience that was just changing the cells of my body, and I just wanted to be that guy for somebody else, you know.
and it was Tony
And
McAlpine that did that for you. Tony McAlpine had
it
some
was a
good
lot.
weed.
Yeah, well, it was Tony McAlpine first, where it was because I was listening to metal guitar players. I was already playing guitar for like a year or something. And I hated the songs. Even like I was listening to Metallica and Megadeth and Pantera. I didn't hate them, but I never even like learned the riffs. I would just skip in my cassettes and my CDs to where the solo was and just listen to the solos of the whole album. I just didn't care. It's like Hangar 18 singing about some aliens. Like it was just like, what is this shit, you know? But always getting to that instrumental bit in a song, and then I realized there's music that's kind of extending that thing, Malmsteen and Steve Vai. And from there, it went jazzier and jazzier. So Scott Henderson, Alan Holdsworth, Frank Gambale, those kinds of players, Sean Lane. And then I was already in college where I kind of was starting to listening to people who didn't play with a high gain sound, you know, like Metheny.
Right.
But I had to draw the line somewhere, like this fucking terrible New York music that's happening now, where it's just like, who gives a shit? Like, terrible. Yeah,
you know what, man? This is funny. You're like me, like probably when I was your age. This is really funny talking to you. It's very weird for me. Yeah. You have no filter at all, zero. Which is, I mean, great. I mean, it's just hilarious though, because I was exactly like that. I mean, like really like that. It's very funny.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm just fucking be you, man. That's like very refreshing.
Yeah, all right. I'll try.
Let's
see how far we get.
No, we're going great. So what, did you come back here exclusively to study at Berklee, or like was studying music?
Yeah. That was the whole thing. That was the whole thing. I thought it was going to be good.
Yeah. What was it? Was there any culture shock when you came back here?
Yeah, I couldn't believe how bad everybody sounded.
No, seriously?
I got there. I was like, I just still remember this because I was a huge Alan Holdsworth fan, huge Scott Henderson fan, mainly Travel Tech. And I got there. I had like a Van Halen PV, which was like a good guitar in Israel standards, and like a little kidney bean pod. And I remember they were like doing the assignments of the professors who's gonna be your private teacher at Berklee. And I was like, I want to study fusion. And they're like, here's your guy. His name's like Mark White, I think. I was like, interesting. I've never heard of him, but okay, let's try this. And I sat down. My first lesson. It was like my first half hour. It was literally my private lesson was my first class of my first day at Berklee. And he sat down in front of me and he's like, play me a G major scale. And I was like, all right. And I go, and I was like, no, play it legato. And I was like, okay. Like, it's like, no, like the Italian legato. It's just like, where the fuck am I? What is going on? Is this my future? And then he was like, check this out. And he plugged into the amp and put on this backing track. And he played so terribly. It just made a lasting impression. I was like, as he was playing, I was just because it had all the right stuff. It had some bebop lines in there. But it was like a fucking middle-aged guy with his like shirt kind of untucked, playing through like one of those like Roland amps over a backing track on those like plinky sounding strats. And I was like, just thinking, it's like, how did he, because I never saw great players. I was in Israel. I was just listening to them on albums. And when you told me fusion, I was thinking, okay, on Holdsworth, Scott Henderson, I'm ready. Give me that, right? I want to study that. It's like, how did he manage to play the music I love without any of the things I love? It blew my mind. It's like, how do you do this minus the magic? Where's the
So it was
magic?
very sterile.
It's just terrible. It was just
Yeah.
the thing without the thing. I knew there's supposed to be a thing inside a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
listen to Scott Henderson play. He has this magic of when he's playing a solo, he's not just trying to hit the notes. He's trying to tear your fucking head off.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what he's really trying to do. He's going, every time he's picking up the guitar, he's trying to do the thing. Well, this guy wasn't trying to do the thing. He was just making it from point A to point B, right? The same way an accountant like shows up to like a fucking job, or like a, you know, like a jaded cop waiting for retirement, just sitting there doing the minimum, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just that. It was the first time I've seen it. And then I saw it everywhere. Everybody was like that. The jazz people, the drummers, the bassists. And it's still everywhere. It's the thing I hate the most. I just fucking hate it. It's like, you know, people just don't like what they're doing, aren't good at it. It's disgusting.
Okay, so who do you listen to now that is doing the thing?
Oh, nobody.
No,
very little. Dead guys mainly. You know, Louis Armstrong. You know, John Coltrane, Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker. You know, no, to say I'm like excited for the next Pat Metheny record, I'm not. I'm excited to listen to the Secret Story again. You know, it's like, again, genius is something that passes through people. Unfortunately, maybe one day I'll make a shitty record. I don't know. But you know, it's about trying. It's about still trying to, for real, play this game every time you touch the instrument. Try to make something happen, you know.
And you don't think anybody's, you don't think anybody's putting that out there today?
I listen to some. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little jaded on music. It's possible, but it's been a minute. If something comes to mind, I'll tell you. I mean, I still like the last great fusion album I heard. Vital Tectones, I thought was excellent. Like the Scott Henderson, Victor Wood, and Steve Smith thing, but that was 20 years ago. I'm sure it's out there. You know, I just haven't had the pleasure. Some singer-songwriters, I think, do a great job. John Moreland, I heard him sing his first album. That was a few years ago. That was pretty good. I don't know.
So let me ask you this, and I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, right? So people are going to listen to this and say, man, this guy sounds really arrogant. What is your response to that? I mean, you know, they're going to say it like you're just eliminating like a lot of the things people typically listen to. And I think that there is,
hey man, I'm
out there and you're just being honest, which is fine.
I'm not trying to say, listen, what I'm really trying to say is that for me, I think the more specialized you become in what you do, the less things speak to you and the more driven you are to do exactly this thing that you're supposed to be doing. So I think that there's a sort of myth around open-mindedness. You need to have an open mind in your formative years, right? And throughout my entire college experience, I'm still checking everybody out. I listen to music all the time. To say that I'm happy with where it's going, which was what the question is, like, which one of the younger people is good? I mean, I recognize, you know, people like, I don't know, Mark Lettieri's good, and, you know, Julian Lage, like of course there are more amazing players on a lot of levels now than there were 20 years ago. But the one thing that I seem to want and lack is the songs. You know, just great songs are just becoming more and more rare, in my opinion. But yeah,
like stuff that you'll hum afterwards, stuff that you'll hum along with afterwards.
stuff that I will just be gravitated to listen to again and again to somehow flush out like that it's giving you some sort of mysterious kind of pull towards the music. It's just, I find less and less and less of that in the world. And for me, it's a bummer, but I'm constantly listening to it. Now, again, during those years in college, I'm not talking about like, I was very into a lot of people, even current people, just not the Berklee professors at the time, just the people that were, I came there hoping to be absolutely inspired by the people I was paying a lot of money to interact with.
Yeah.
It wasn't that class of people. But, you know, we got to tour opening for Alan Holdsworth and for Scott Henderson, and I got to like play shows directly before they went out and did their thing for the same people. And that, to me, that was the greatest experience because, you know, first of all, I got to see what their music, how it meets people, kind of compared to how our music meets people. And again, the funny thing about being a creative person and about being a musician is this meeting point between kind of subjective taste and objective goodness, right?
Oh, right.
Now, the more I grow up, I find that, like, you know, my subjective tastes are narrowing. And I feel like most people that get older have this sensation. You find yourself listening to the same 100 albums that you liked since you were 25.
Absolutely.
Again and again, returning and being interested in less things. And the path forward isn't just passive, you know, it's active. You got to write music you like. I mean,
right.
On the point of being arrogant, I just remember one time at Berklee, I went to see a masterclass by Yngwie Malmsteen. And, you know, he said something, and it was just so true. It was amazing. And people, because everybody was trying to ask the hip questions, like, what do you listen to? You know, like, what's in your car right now? And he's like, my own music. That's why I made it.
Is that what he said? My own music?
It's what he said. Yeah, it's like my latest record. That's why I made it. And it's like, again, if you make a record,
my latest record,
and you don't like it,
yeah,
it's like, why the fuck do you make it?
Yeah, well, that's,
you know
of course.
I mean?
That's
it's
true.
like make what you want to be there.
Yeah,
you know, it's almost like again, like I my listening diet in instrumental music is basically non-existent, other than very old jazz these days. I don't know. I just kind of lost interest in a lot of it, but I love it, and I keep writing, and we keep doing more stuff. But I'm not supposed to be the audience. I know that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
It's great if you like all the people I despise. That's totally fine. You know,
sure.
Like we can disagree on food too. That doesn't, you know,
right.
It's
an opinion.
Just
that's
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know. I just don't see it as arrogance. I see it as embracing your subjective tastes and taking them seriously. And I know that they really inform my process too. Like the thing I hate the most, really, it's like it's just, you know how like a band like Snarky Puppy makes it big, and then like a month after, there's like 7 other people just looked like they were just standing in the shadows taking notes, waiting for somebody to like be YouTube famous and be like, this is what we're doing.
That's very common.
So just not having a center like that, just not being connected to what you like, you know,
chasing a trend.
I know what I like. It's chasing exactly trends, that. Just waiting in the shadow of YouTube, being like, people like this now, charge, you know.
No, there's a good point to that, because I have had guys on the show that said they specifically felt they became successful because they did not chase trends, because they stayed authentic to what they wanted to do. And there's a lot of validity to that.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. I think, yeah, you just gotta, you can't, we all make compromises in a lot of ways, but I feel like the one area where you really should not be doing that is when you ask yourself just a simple question: what is good? When you listen to a melody, is that good? Is that boring? Is that okay? Right? It's like, once you lose touch with that and you start being trapped in somebody else's dream, You just lose your ability to maneuver and be very creative, because it becomes too narrow.
How did you?
I mean, you're in a fantasy.
So you're dealing with these guys at Berklee who were like less than impressive to you because they were more. It sounds like intentionally or unintentionally, they were not there. They were there to show you movements. They were there to show you how to go from A to B on a guitar neck, not anything else attached to that. How did you reconcile that for whatever, year or two that you had to sit there and listen to that?
4 years. 4 years. Yeah, it's, first of all, I was terrible, right? I didn't get there good at guitar, and I didn't know anything. I was just a kid. I was playing for really a few years at that point. I started playing when I was 15, so I was playing guitar maybe 3 years. Well, what I did was I realized how to break the game. So modern jazz was hip, but postmodernism just hit the States, and free jazz was the hippest. And I just realized it took no skill or ability, but somehow it was not hip to not like it. So I started a free jazz band, started studying with a slide guitar player named David Tronzo, who was like an avant-garde guitarist.
Dave Tronzo, I know who that is.
Yeah. Or Nat Coleman with a slide. I studied with him my whole time at Berklee. And I just started making this noise with like loopers and throwing marbles at the guitar and prepared guitar. And people, we had gigs and people showed up and who were well respected, and we were just fucking around. It was primitive, it was but it was hipper. It was like flipping, I say this, but imagine jazz school being like chess school. Everybody's there and they're studying openings and they're studying famous games and like Kasparov and like all these like famous moves and what to do in this and that trap. And that's sort of how bebop school went along for a while. But then the free jazz people showed up and they were like, there is no way the pieces go and the board doesn't exist. And then instead of moving there's no consensus about the rules of the game anymore. And you have people just chucking the pieces at each other. That's a lot like what going to a free jazz concert is like. And I was in that scene. And I was like just playing gigs and doing that thing, just making a lot of sound. And in one way, it's very open. It's as if, applied to any other area of life, you'd probably die. Like if you do free driving.
Yeah. That's, I've had do you know Nate Wood?
Yeah.
So Nate does a lot of free jazz stuff. And Tim LaFave does a good amount of free jazz stuff. Donnie McCaslin, a lot of those guys out of New York City. And you're right. If applied to anything else, it would not work.
Yeah, it's pragmatic. Like if you take that mentality of absolute freedom, right, of no rules. Yeah. Well, again, it wouldn't even work in music if you push it to the extreme. You see, like aesthetics have this scale that they run. And if you just imagine it like a dial from the green to the red, so the green being pleasure, the yellow being indifference, and the red being disgust, they only push it so far till the red. Meaning if they went with like Freddy Krueger's glove and brought chalkboards and scratched them for an hour, nobody would be able to withstand that. Or if they just brought stacks of Marshalls, cranked them all to 10 and left, right? Everything to feed back. It would be like a Boeing taking off in a small club. Everybody would be physically accosted. You can push avant-garde to this place where it will clear the fucking room every time. You just don't. So you leave this like dial in the yellow of indifference, right, tickling that red, and you call that art. And I'm just, for a while, again, I did it for a while. I get it. I did for years. But then after that, I was just like, you know what? I want to just write awesome music and play awesome solos. I remember what I remember maximum security. I remember those nights in my bedroom actually having an emotional reaction to music. I still remember what that thing is, you know. And that's what I'm talking about. That's my criticism to people, call it arrogant. Again, it doesn't have to be, it could be with a Zeppelin tune or with a Louis Armstrong song. But if you stopped attempting to deliver that experience to people, I just don't fuck with you. That's it.
I get it. No, and I don't, just to be clear, I wasn't saying you're arrogant. I was saying there are people listening that'll gonna say, wow, this guy's arrogant. I just wanted you to get it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Zeppelin.
It's aesthetic.
You mentioned Zeppelin. Fan?
Yeah.
Okay. They had the thing.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For me, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you finished. What do you do right after Berklee? And where was your head
right
at?
after Berklee? Well, okay, so like my third and like almost a year before graduating, I started playing in something that I thought was fusion-y, but was probably more like a jam band situation. And it wasn't jam band, but it was, the bassist now plays in a band called Turquoise, which is like an 11-piece funk band that's very successful. And so Taylor Shell, he was in my thing. We studied together, and then a drummer from Chicago. His name's Noah, and the three of us just started playing sort of Hendrixy kind of things. I was trying to bridge this gap and do some prepared guitar stuff that I thought was interesting, but really play rock solos with grooves for the first time after this free jazz thing. And then I graduated, and me and the drummer decided to go and try to play in Israel for a minute.
What made you do that?
Just for a summer. We just went to, I just went home to my parents, and he came with me. And there's a bassist named Elad Muscatel that went to the new school and I grew up with. And I knew that he was going to be there for the summer too. So we decided we're going to try to get gigs. And he was friends with Danny Markovitch from childhood, the saxophonist.
Danny's from Israel as well?
Danny's from Israel. Yeah, we grew up. We didn't know each other growing up, but we grew up like 5 miles from each other.
Do people ask you that all the time? Like, oh, my friend's from Israel. Do you know?
Oh my God. Yeah. My friend's from China. Yeah.
My wife is from England, and people do that with her all the time. Do you know Simon? And she's like, like it's like more than 4 people in the country, man.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
It's very great. I know. It's like that. We Americans, we have a little myopia because it's so big, and if you haven't gone to another country, it's like you just assume it's.
Right. It's like a village.
Yeah, right. It's a weird, like, what is it called?
I get that all the time.
It's ethnocentric.
Moshe.
Yeah, yes. Right. You from Israel? Yeah. Do you know Moshe? Well, my friend is like, one of my really close friends is Lebanese. He's like, people come over to him all the time. Do you know Muhammad? And he's like,
how many do you want? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Right. I know a couple. Yeah. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Anyway, okay, so you guys went to Israel to experiment and see how this thing would go, playing Hendrix.
That's right.
Types of stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were doing some Schofield covers and some shit like that, and I was a lot of like really free improvised rock, I would describe it as. And then me and Danny met at our first rehearsal a day before our first gig doing this as a quartet. And then we just clicked and we started hanging out and talking all the time and writing music together. Just write. And that was really our connection, So we were very similar in our likes and dislikes in jazz. We liked the same kinds of saxophone players and disliked the same ones, piano players, whatever. Really more drawn. Again, it all comes back to that thing I said about Scott in the context of Scott Henderson, about people who tried to do the thing. Oscar Peterson, Michel Petrucciani, Charlie Parker, Django Reinhardt. There was something about, I could only describe it as big dick energy that they had. They were just trying to bulldoze through the music, and their solos were meant to hit you. They were meant to just grab you, do something to you. And that's the kind of playing we just liked. So we had a connection around that. And we also had a lot of connection about the Israeli music and the singer-songwriters and the pop we liked. We're both big Paul Simon, Sting, Leonard Cohen fans, Jim Croce. Even like in the rock world, we both like Rage Against the Machine. That was a big one for us in terms of like, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, and just in terms of like the kinds of grooves, we always felt we disliked what I like to call like calculator watch fusion and people with their Hawaiian shirts and like this thing that happened in the 80s with the synths. Like we never liked that. So we just had an idea about what we liked and what we didn't like in terms of how the rhythm section needs to be texturally and groove-wise and how the melodies need to fit on that and what a good solo is. So it was really natural for us to just write together. We would sit together and write melodies and be like, this is good, this is not so good, let's change this note here, this chord is better there. And we did a lot of that. We wrote a ton. We had like a folder that's just filled with like, just writing. I actually am a big believer in writing. When you're writing,
like
people don't apply pen to paper.
Dude, you know what's funny? I do that
to write your music.
That's the best for me. That's the best way to learn. When I write something down, there's something that I don't know what it is, the act of writing or the tangible, then you read it and then it just sinks in your head better. I don't know. For me anyway, I don't know why. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are recording now and call that writing.
Yeah.
But you got to call what you do by the word that it describes. If you're recording your ideas, you are recording. You have skipped the writing. You're actually not a music writer. You're a music recorder. You're a producer or whatever you are. But you can't not write and be a writer.
Yeah.
Writing has writing in it.
No, I agree with you. I don't know that you can't do that, but I agree with you that the process fits better when you actually go through the writing part of it.
You certainly can do it. You're just skipping a process of it's kind of like a factory skipping a lot of the initial product. Like checking the safety of the product before it's released,
or checking the taste of it.
Fly by you.
Yeah, it's like checking, hey, let's put a little more pepper in as opposed to punching the things and shooting it out. Yeah, I get that. I agree with you.
Absolutely, because things will pop out in a different way. Melodies will look overly symmetrical and square, written down. Certain chords will be like, oh, I did that. Certain cadences you just might look really different when you're looking at a fretboard and sitting in front of Pro Tools, but just written on a page, it'd be like, I have ideas here.
Yeah.
There are different things I can put. It will just lead you to more interesting directions if you spend the time writing and editing on the paper and then do that.
Well, the editing is the worst, but not the worst. That's where the bloodletting comes when you're editing. You can write and write and write, but then you got to clean the shit up. That's
right.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I agree.
What's interesting is that you were playing rock music and you meet this saxophone player that's in your band. That's not a usual thing. There's not a lot of sax players in rock bands.
Right. And he really is grew up listening to a lot of his big guys are like Charlie Parker and John Coltrane. And we just started playing all the time. So we're in Israel for a while. And then in 2008, we moved to Chicago together to follow this drummer. And then the drummer, Noah Plotkin.
Okay.
And this guy is like really crazy hippie guy. And it's as soon as we get there, he like gets in a car. He falls in love with this hippie chick in Maine, steals his dad's car, just drives to Maine with this energy. Like, this girl's about to leave and go to like an ashram in India studying tantric sex, meaning like she's gonna get gangbanged by like all these Indian dudes. And he's like on his way there to like stop her. And he finds this girl, and this is like 2008, so gas was like $6 a gallon, and he could have flown, but he's just driving like for 20 hours, like this energy.
Well, dude, if you're thinking about tantric sex, the drive might be worth it,
Yeah. Well, if you're thinking about her going away to have it, though, you definitely have some urgency.
Maybe not so much. Yeah.
So that was kind of off to a bad start with our move because we like had gigs and he missed them, and so that didn't work out. Is the point. And then me and Danny just found ourselves in Chicago trying to figure it out, and we started playing a lot of gigs locally, and we did our first album as a duo. Just and at the time we were still. I was 1 foot still in the not the avant-garde because we already had songs, but I was looping and doing a lot of prepared guitar stuff, a lot of texture, but still taking solos and really exploring that side already pretty heavily. And after that, we met Paul Wertico and Steve Rodby from the old Pat Metheny group, and we made a couple records with them. They played on our second and third album, and we played with Paul Wertico's band a little bit. And then in 2011, we started touring full time. We got a quartet together, and we just hit the road, and we were playing about 300 nights a year. And then maybe it went down a little bit. 2017, we started playing like more like 200 nights a year, and we kept steady at that till COVID.
Okay, so bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you were kind of like left alone. You know, you had this thing together in Chicago. This guy bolts. What was the end of the story?
Yeah.
Is there an ending of the story of that guy? Did he like hook up with that chick? Did they have great tantric sex?
Oh, okay.
People want to know.
Well, the story he told us is that they like climbed a mountain at sunset naked and had like amazing sex on this mountain, but then it got dark and they decided to climb a mountain naked like a bunch of idiots, and they had to literally crawl down like on their hands and feet and like get all fucked up on the rocks in the middle of Maine. These hippie fantasies are like pretty half-baked.
There's like fucking zero appeal to doing that for me. I'm old school. I like a nice hotel and a bed. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, it's great.
Alcohol.
Bathrobes are a plus. Yeah,
right.
I get it. I get it. It's anti-evolution. We went out of nature. We're not coming back. Yeah.
So that was the end of that story. So so it's just a two. How did you guys?
No, that's not. No. He came back.
He did.
He came back. She went to bang all. She went to bang all the Indians in India. I don't know what happened to her, but God bless her.
Yes.
And he came back to Chicago. The story is fucked up. So, all right, I'll tell you the story. I'll backtrack. When we were in Israel, he stayed with my parents. With me and my parents when I was there. But then I had to go and finish one semester at Berklee, and he decided to stay in Israel, and he was supposed to move to a hippie commune. But
that's weird.
He moved. He stayed in Israel alone. Okay. He wanted to like move up north in Israel and be with the hippies. But he's an American hippie from like Highland Park in Chicago, so he's used to like good conditions. And you know, first time it rained or something, he just basically went back to my parents' place, and he just showed up. And they're like, my dad's a physicist, and I'm a psychologist, and he's like, "I'm back." And they're like,
and they're like,
"Why is this
does not there?" compute.
And he stayed for like 4 months.
In your parents' house?
In my parents' house without me, and I was just.
That's
like,
really weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. So anyway, like my dad goes to the university to teach, and this guy's just eating the food out of the fridge, like just eating like a piece of chicken to greet him when he comes back after a day of work. And he's like trying to like compensate for like, you know, him using their place and eating their food by being social. He's like, "So, talk, how was physics today?" It's like trying to, anyway. So they're calling me like, "Why is this guy with us?" And his dad was supposed to be very connected. Now his dad kept like calling me after every like couple of weeks and be like, "When you move to," because we were planning to move to Chicago. It's like, "When you move here, I'm going to introduce you to my friend Bob. He's going to be your connection to the world of marketing." Oh, that sounds. We need that, you know. Then it's like, no, I would like just live with my parents for a while, and they'd be really frustrated. And then his dad would call again. It's like, "Oh, when you guys get here in September, like I'm gonna introduce you to Mike. He's gonna be your connection to the world of booking." And just like it'll be like, just he would, you know, behave insanely, stay with my parents, and then we'd get a phone call from his very connected dad. Anyway, we moved to Chicago eventually. The guy takes off to Maine, comes back. And we're just, when he was gone to Maine, his dad, we didn't have a car. We're just in an empty apartment, no furniture yet. Like we didn't even see the apartment. His dad helped us like rent it. And he drives us to, we were like, we need a computer, right? So he drives us to like Office Depot to get a computer so we could start booking, get the ball rolling on some things. And there's this dude walking around with like a name tag, like works there. His name is Chad. And this dude knows Dad, just grabs the guy's like, hey, this is Chad. He's going to be your connection to the world of computers.
You can make so this stuff up, man.
We knew that we're fucked.
This guy was full of shit. Oh my God.
Shit. So we started from nothing. We played gigs for the bar staff exclusively for the first 4 years, just touring, playing for like empty dive bars all over the States.
How did you start? How did you book gigs? Because you weren't even like versed in like. So, you didn't have connections in the States.
Well, so back in those days, it started off on the phone. We'd go, our first gigs were Southern Illinois from Chicago, like 6 hours south on the border of Kentucky. Like Marion, Illinois, Carbondale, Illinois. We'd go do weekends there. First of all, we tried to start playing in the city. The biggest lie somebody can tell you is what they tell you at Berklee at a music business class, that first of all, get a local following. Like you're the Doors and you're going to create a scene, and then it's going to be like a bunch of chicks, like 400 women. Friday's going to be bigger than the last Friday. It's like, that's such a fucking crock of shit. Like it never,
that didn't happen.
It happened for 10 minutes in the 70s. It happened, but it's not happening now. Like you're not going to do that. Nobody's, Paul Simon can't come to Chicago every weekend and sell out a theater. You know, after a while people be like, okay, that's available. Let's go see something else. So nobody's doing that. It's not how it works. You got to spread yourself over lots of territory. And also we realized after like a year of playing 5-6 gigs a week in Chicago, that it doesn't make sense. Like something in this idea is broken, and the way the venues structure the evenings, like with 5 bands, is that they say nobody knows anybody and we're not a good enough venue to attract any serious talent. So we're going to just, take 5 bands. They're going to bring their friends and family. We're going to grab them by the ankles and flip them over and empty their pockets. And we're going to get your mummies and aunts money. But we didn't have a mummy and aunt or high school friends in Chicago. So, we would always be the band that brings nobody. Because we didn't have friends.
You didn't have a following.
We couldn't bring people, and nobody knew us. And the whole business model was just milking your small inner circle. These aren't your fans; these are just people who know you personally, and are happy that you're a musician. So we realized that's not sustainable, and we have to do something. And we started seeing the difference between.
You had day jobs in the meanwhile?
I was teaching guitar at a music store in Chicago. Which I like for 5-year-olds. It was like living one of my biggest nightmares. Like every day, I actually figured out that if I spend that these kids don't understand my peeing schedule, and that every single lesson in a day I would go to the bathroom to pee for 5 minutes and just watch the clock go down. So my 30-minute slots turned into 25-minute slots, and it was just marginally more bearable to just look at the clock.
Was that birth control for you? Like, did you like prevent you from ever like?
My wife is actually pregnant now.
Congratulations.
My wife is pregnant. I'm having a daughter. Thank you. No, I just thank you. Yeah, it's not against kids. It's just against spending my early 20s locked in a room with 5-year-olds trying to teach them, guitar. The difference between Guitar Hero controllers and a guitar. It was just not for me. I teach all the time, but I teach people who have played before.
Wow.
It's not even that I don't like teaching kids. I had a few kids that were talented. It's that I don't like advocating for why you should learn guitar.
You don't want to. You're not in the convincing business. You're not in the convincing business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't. They're like, why is this good? It's like, I don't know. It's like, if you don't like it, go do something else.
Yeah, go play piano or
football or do something you like. It's like I'm not. I don't know how to convince you why I like this. I just like it. So yeah, we in the beginning 2011 we quit our day jobs and went full time on the road, and we understood the difference between entertainment gigs and hard ticket gigs. So an entertainment gig would be when somebody hypothetically owns a bar and pays a band 500, 300, 400 bucks to just be there the entire night, and there's no door cover, and they're just paying for whoever's there. And we realized that nobody knows us, so we need to get as many entertainment gigs as possible. It costs nothing to get in, but we get paid a certain amount of money that is somehow like, we can at least break even with 4 guys living as minimally as possible. We found ways to spend like $4 a day on food. We'd bring a hot plate, make eggs in the hotel. We scammed the hotels. What we would do is we would do early check-in at like a Quality Inn. So we'd play a gig, drive all night, like 8 hours to the next gig, sit in the lobby till they let us check into the room, which was sometimes right when we got there and sometimes like 2 p.m., sleep all day, play the gig in the town we got to, sleep again, and repeat. So we would, the 4 of us in one hotel room, but we would get 2 nights of sleep for the cost of 1 night, but then we'd be up for 48 hours. Yeah. And we would just go on tour for like 2 months doing that, just to save the money.
How did you what drove you during that time? Because you're not doing that because it
was the greatest time. I love it. Loved it. It was the greatest. It was the greatest.
What drove you?
It was amazing. It's just pure fun. It was awesome.
Just the joy of playing music night after night.
No, my life was a slumber party with my friends.
Okay. Okay.
It was the best.
Just the hang.
I wasn't around. It wasn't, me and Danny are we're always like the closest friends. I wouldn't want to hang out with anybody else, Okay. It's like I would never do that if like it was just a wedding band or even, if it was a famous fusion guys band, it would be miserable. I would just say no. But it was my band. I got to play what I wanted to play. And it was building. It was tough. It was getting, especially like as the year started accumulating and we didn't have success in the beginning. It was tough to sustain. But then right around 2015, another funny story. There's a lot that happened. I don't know how in detail we're going to go into the career, but in 2015, we released videos that went viral. Okay. On Facebook and really put us on the map. And then we started transitioning from entertainment kind of gigs to hard ticket gigs, to where we'd sell tickets at the door and people would come to see us. And so you
became the draw, not the free cover charge.
Yes.
And your job was
the hardest time was not playing the entertainment gigs for bars that were sometimes full, sometimes empty, but we at least had guarantees. It was when 3 to 8 people would come to see us every night, and every show was just awkward because the audience thought we were much more famous than we were, and they all felt bad for us.
Because of the viral scope of the video.
The viral scope of the video and the online presence, they assumed, like, this is 2015. Now we're doing great, but then it was just every night was this embarrassing thing where like people were just looking around like, when are more people coming? And then they realize it's like we're it, and then it's like they can't leave because we see we know them on a first name basis.
It's like walking out of a small classroom.
It's exactly that, like just shrinking away. Yeah.
Wow. So how did you guys handle?
That was awkward every night.
How did you guys handle that? That's got to be awkward for you guys too.
You get used to it. It's like anything, in the beginning it's awkward. Then after a while, you just don't even notice it anymore. And we were always playing the full show, trying to bring it, trying to do the thing as powerfully as we could.
How
and
long
also,
did that last?
Something that's, I would say by 2017, things started getting much more consistent.
Okay. Okay.
So it was like maybe 1.5, 2 years.
Okay.
We were writing that right before Facebook got really, I'd say, capitalistic
Pay to get seen
in their approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, it was really the Wild West of marketing.
Yeah.
And we were really riding high throughout that time. We really made hay while the sun was out,
Good.
So we did a lot of videos, a lot of content when things were still allowed to go viral. And that was good. That really put us on the map. And, we had a lot of albums at that time already, like 5 or 6. And I feel like our music, for people who like it, speaks for itself. If you give it a listen, the specific drug we're making, nobody else is really making.
Not to these, not as specific.
Yeah.
No, not you are. Like I said, you have a very good mix of rock and jazz. It's not rock, jazz, funk,
right,
something else. It's really rocking. I mean, you have a great groove, but it's not there's a lot of guys are doing rock, jazz, funk, freestyle jazz. You're rocking jazz, and you're pretty consistent at sticking to that formula.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, one question about that, or a couple of questions for people that are just getting turned on to you. What are the names of the songs in those videos that they should look out for on your YouTube?
Well, so this was our, I'd say, third line, or really second lineup, was on those videos. So it's Redline and African Shabtai. It's kind of us in a warehouse looking thing. So we released these two in 2015. Those are the ones that caught initially. But since then, we put out a lot of stuff. We did with the Shredding at Sweetwater videos from the album. That was a great record. Video. Thank you.
That's a really good record.
That's all live in the studio. So we have videos of that too up. And there's a bootleg called Alabama Sock Party, which is,
where do people get that?
That's on our, you can find it, I think, on our Spotify, definitely on our Bandcamp, so marbinmusic.bandcamp.com. But we have some videos from that, Spank Tank, Itchy Bun, some of the names of the songs, and we have other videos that kind of got to a lot of people: Israeli jazz, just music.
So you said the second, you said Redline and an African
Shabtai, Shabtay.
Okay, thanks. And then the other question I had was, I forgot. I'm sorry.
All good.
Sorry, man. It was something about when you decided to put this together. Was that always your intention? You said, "Hey, we want to do." You and Danny said, "Let's do." Was it intentional? You said, "Hey, let's do a rock and jazz one," or that's just what you did together and it worked?
Well, yeah. Our first 3 albums, our first one's a duo album. Our second and third one have a ton of studio production type things with a lot of layers of guitar, a lot of layers of saxophone, really using multi-track recording and Pro Tools as the instrument, right? 95 tracks a song.
Wow.
And like just thick, rich texture, lots of percussion, lots of few drum sets on some songs. And after that, we just were like, the touring band, our band, the way we sound there are 2 approaches to making records. A record could be a portrait of your imagination or a portrait of your reality, right? And
hang on a second. Let me just let that sink in. Records could be a portrait of your imagination or a portrait of your reality. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So we decided that we've done this thing where we sit out of time and write a melody and fill up all the texture with 1,000 instruments and focus on the color and treat those sculpting time like a 5-minute song with like every little harmonic trick and color we can do. But then we also have our quartet, which is happening, right? It's like we play music the way we play it with the people we play it a certain way. And that's not just the scaffolding to produce over that has a thing. We fill up all the space. So at that point, I think our records changed approach, and it was like, let's just try to capture the sound we're creating rather than generate the sound in the studio, right?
So the confidence in everything, your skill set, not your skill sets, that's the wrong word. Your creativity got at the point where you said, this is what we are, or, you know, we've a lot,
yeah,
you know, we're
and
born,
also,
you know, we're like alive now creatively. This is where we're at.
yeah, and our shows are not an attempt to play what's on the record. They never were.
Okay.
Right. Whereas somebody who spends a long time crafting 5 minutes on Pro Tools might have a lot of ideas about how their song sounds that are very separate from their ability to play their songs.
Yeah.
Right.
I get
to me, the song, like when I hold my guitar and I play my song, I want to play it the way it is. Right. That like the me that wakes up every day a little bit different needs to be able to play my music slightly better than the me of yesterday playing it, with a fresher set of skills to it. And where we all meet in the band is what the song is when we play it 300 times and then make a record. Our albums take 2 days to make.
Because you've already played it, like you said, 300 times. Yeah.
Again, you know, the hard part is to commit to an improvised solo. You know,
Right.
when you have already taken all these turns with it, and it's like, well, which one gets to be the one? I don't know. The one that comes out, they're probably, you imagine that there's vast differences between your soloing on, you know, Monday and Tuesday, but the truth is, there are very big actual differences, but there are not big discrepancies in quality, right? So Charlie Parker playing 2 solos back to back, takes 1 and take 2, may go very different ways rhythmically and note wise, but their quality is going to be on par.
Well, it's interesting because I listened to the first record I randomly picked was Strong Thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's our latest studio album.
Right. And I liked it. And I picked it because I liked the cover, I think, believe it or not, because I didn't get a chance to listen to Fernway. I listened to Russian Dolls. And then when I listened to Shredded in Sweetwater, first song is Messy Mark. I'm like, oh, sounded, you know, it wasn't the same song, but I knew right away. I said, oh, I just heard that. It was, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was close. The melody was not like, the melody is the song, is the melody of the song. The song, you know, it's a song.
Right.
And I knew I had heard it and I liked it on the record, the studio record. And so then I was like, oh, this is cool. So, but I get what you're saying though. It's different, but it's different within the same context.
Exactly. You know, the solos take their own turns. You gotta, I mean, if you don't like that, then why play music that has improvisation in it?
No, you shouldn't.
Right. What is the role of improvising? And I think that's something that I would consider deeply American. Like well, now who knows what's in people's minds, but I will try to lay out the cases as clearly as I can. I think that absolute freedom doesn't exist, but freedom inside of an intelligent structure lets individuals excel.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
That's what jazz is.
Yeah, that's
jazz is jazz is to just understand that we need harmonious structure and groove and structure, and if we just make a small space and hold it, we can fill it up in a way that's more sophisticated and more actually inspired than any sort of European dream of organizing the sound. Right, that's what Beethoven is. It's organizing a lot of people to do something the same way in tandem again and again and again. And that's not what jazz is. Jazz is you set the ground rules, you set the foundation, and then you let an individual like Charlie Parker or Django or whoever fill it up intuitively.
Let me ask you this. What do you think of someone like a Gilmore, who is not a freestyle jazz player, obviously? But
I think I love him.
He brings it, man.
I love him, but I don't.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree that he brings it, but it's just a guy like Gilmour is much more like
he's playing the 6-minute record and
his
he's coming pretty close to recreating that solo. 80%.
sure, but
of,
again,
yeah.
the solos there live in much smaller compartments of time, and the
Absolutely.
solos function as an ornament in the song. Right?
Yes.
Even a Jeff Beck solo or a Gilmour solo, I wouldn't play the same if I had 8 bars to play in or 16 bars to play in.
I get you.
But if you don't bring the thing about people who play, I'm going to do air quotes, slowly,
Right.
is that what slow means is that they don't have a lot of rhythmic diversity in their playing. They don't act. There are subdivisions that they ignore. They pretend they don't exist. They don't play a lot of 30-second notes for sure.
Yeah.
David Gilmour, partly because they can't, and partly it's not like, because they can't, it's probably not a part of their aesthetic. Now,
Yes.
they make it work, but you can only make things like that interesting if you compensate for that with obviously great color, great touch, great tone,
Yes.
and great notes.
Great notes.
But also it only, yes.
You have to when you're playing slow. You're not going to be around.
Absolutely. But this can only work when you have a very small pocket to fill.
Yes.
Pocket of time.
Yeah.
If you let Gilmour play, a 5-minute solo, things will start being very repetitive very quickly.
That's a fair statement.
You need a larger tool bag. Yeah, you just need a larger tool bag when you're dealing with that amount of space.
Yes.
So I would say that
very fair.
If you're into Jeff Beck, if you're into David Gilmour, even like Jeff Beck, thinking about like A Brush with the Blues or like one of his longer solos. It's a great solo, but you could totally see that he floored it a few times and there are not a lot of places he can go. Right. And he doesn't have that feeling that a guy like Oscar Peterson gives you where this could literally go forever. Like it's just expanding. Every time there's a different nook and cranny he's exploring. And just when you think it's peaked out, he just reaches over the thing for another chorus. So it's just a different sport.
Yeah. You know what? That's a fair, because I'm a bigger fan of Gilmour than anybody. I mean, he's my all-time. He does it for me. But everything you just said is 100% accurate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not can't take anything away from the guy. It's perfect playing for the context that he's decorating.
Yes, 100%. It's funny you mentioned Oscar Peterson because I started going through a little Peterson phase recently, and that guy sounds like he's got 3 hands.
Yeah.
Like I'm blown away with some of the stuff that comes out of him. Even
it's mind expanding.
I don't know how he's even doing it. Like it's just phenomenal.
Yeah. I got to take it back for a second to the people who might think I'm arrogant. I just want to clarify one point. I am such a fan of some people.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of the flack and hate I get for not liking some people.
So this is not unique.
How much? I feel like we're working with this. No, but I feel like we're working with a finite amount of love to give, and a lot of people spread it very thin. And I just like the heroes. I always liked exceptional people. I just don't have love for everybody in the NBA. Just like the best. Like I like Michael Jordan. It's not like, but all of these guys can dribble. It's like.
But understanding though with music, there is something else going on as far as like, for example, I'm not a fan of shredding at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it doesn't have the thing for me. In a million years I wouldn't turn on a lot of shredding music, but I wouldn't, it's not my thing. But I would listen to Gilmour and people like would say, how can you listen to him? He's so limited. Music is that thing, it's like falling in love with someone. Why did you fall in love with this person and not that person? You know what I mean? It's a very people push, your own buttons get pushed for different reasons, and we don't even know, I think, a lot why those reasons. Sometimes, I mean, if you analyze it, maybe you can figure it out, but so many things happen for so many random reasons. I think a lot of it's hard to figure out.
Well, this meeting place between subjectivity and objectivity is very different. Like, just you understand that you're in love with him, right? You understand that you like him, but you also understand that it's going to be very hard to quantify to somebody why Gilmour is better at music than Oscar Peterson.
Oh, I would never.
Like that would be a hard.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm not.
So
that's not an argument.
know,
I'd ever want. Yeah.
I know because you can't use your likes and dislikes as proof of anything.
Right.
You know, we all have that. Yeah, of course, that's constantly the thing. But the thing is, you know, I think as a growing musician, not as a fan of music, you need to be very oriented objectively, like as if you're the actual heroes. It's like eating your vegetables or something, you know. It's like it's not that you're like it, it's that it's good for you, right?
Yeah.
And if you actually want to be like Gilmour, you can imitate him, but that might not be the path forward for you in your playing.
Sure.
You know, it might be that you need things that your hero that you're in love with doesn't have. And you need to it's kind of like getting better at music is like taking a journey on foot to Argentina.
Yeah.
You know, from where you are. And there's a way to get there. It's going to take a long time. And you have to be oriented towards like some sort of star that's shining very bright. And that's what your heroes are like.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very easy to get lost. And a lot of times, again, the things you need to do to grow aren't necessarily the things that are obviously towards the people you like the most. They're just towards the people who are the best.
Yeah.
But
even you do recognize
that some people are the best at this.
But you do recognize even that is subjective, because someone else can come in here and say, well, that doesn't feel right to me, so how can I grow that way? And I'm not saying which is right or wrong.
Yeah, he'd be wrong. He'd be wrong. He'd be wrong.
Oh, touche.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, again, you know,
at least you stick to what your thought process is.
I do believe it's subjective.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I mean, like, again, I'm not saying Oscar Peterson is the only one.
Sure.
But there is certainly, as a class of people, like, it's just going to be obviously wrong to, like, I don't know, if you like singers, it's like, you know, I don't know, Sinatra or somebody like that. It's like, he's just clear, Johnny Cash. They're just clearly the best at what they do. I don't know. I don't need to defend that position. I know it.
Yeah.
And there's a whole slew of them, right? It's like they're pointing to different directions, but follow one of those ones that shine very brightly is the point.
I get you, man.
You know, and good things will come. It's not good to have heroes where everything about everything they do is totally obvious to you. There needs to be a layer of mystery in there.
Okay. So I agree with that I think that's a personal thing, because like I'm like that. I gravitate to that in like a business thing, because I will say, well, I'm not, take this show. I am not inherently a jazz guy, but I try to I gravitate to genres that I'm not, you know, I'm not going to have everybody on here a classic rock player, because as a human being,
sure,
and as a guy who loves music, I'm not growing.
Right.
But so I'll get out of my comfort zone and interview my comfort zone. I'll get out of my knee-jerk comfort zone of, you know, and it's great because I've broadened my knowledge. I've taken in more music. I've gotten exposed to more music through this show than I ever in the last 3 years. I've probably gotten exposed to as much music as I have in the last 35 because of that, you know? And I think in self-development, so what am I saying? I think what you're saying is accurate, but everybody has a certain comfort level of how much they want to grow.
Yeah. And I think that's it exactly. That's it exactly. And a lot of times for people who love minimalist type players, it's hard for them to, you know, transcend their heroes in skill in a lot of ways, because it feels like steps in the wrong direction. But your journey in music is just to learn the things out there, you know, to check them out and to not be so the hubris and the real kind of misinformed position is assuming that you are somehow in full command of your growth. You just got to
Yes.
throw the coal into this engine. You're not designing what you're going to become. You're just feeding yourself what you need at the moment. So if that's harmonic knowledge, if that's rhythmic knowledge, if that's finger dexterity, if that's a new guitar, whatever it is, you just got to keep feeding this machine what it needs, right? And if you stop, the growth stops. It's just that simple. But having people who are minimalists as heroes is a very tricky and murky kind of water to tread in, because you feel like, oh, yeah, but why would I play 30-second? What's my guys don't do that. It's like, yeah, but that's a tool, and they choose not to do it. And they were very successful at choosing that, but it means nothing about you, right?
Yes, you're 100% right when you put it. I agree with things you said. You grow by growing, by doing the things that are not in your comfort zone. It's inherent in the word growth. I agree with you very much. And it's and not being open to pushing a boundary, whether it's in music or whether it's in self-development or business, that is dangerous for yourself, because you're really limiting your ability, your progress. You're limiting your, and ultimately what it comes down to, you're limiting your the potential amount of joy you can get out of any particular thing.
Sure.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
How many guitar players do you know that just are stuck in this pentatonic box, like, knowing a few chords for 30 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it because all the guys marketing, that's the first. Are you stuck in the same pentatonic box again?
Right.
It's like all the ads. I'm like, yeah. So yes, of course. It's very right. Every ad. Do you want to know how to get out of the pen, play some other notes? It's so funny.
Yeah. Written by a guy who never did anything but sell this book.
Right. That's another funny thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's very funny and very accurate. You toured with a bunch of people that have been on here. Jimmy Haslip, who's one of the loveliest human beings I've ever met in my life. Just
very sweet guy.
Oh, incredible. Wayne Krantz, Tim LaFave, Nate Wood. Were those festivals that you played with those guys mostly?
Well, Jimmy Haslip was playing bass with the Alan Holdsworth Trio when we were opening up for them.
And you opened for Alan. Yeah.
We opened for Alan. We shared a van with Jimmy for 3 weeks. He was in our van. Nate Wood, we opened for Wayne Krantz's band when he was playing with him and with Tim.
And Tim, right.
So that was the three of them. And
where were you playing?
I mean, we this is in Chicago and with Martyrs, and I think we also did a show in Moline, Illinois with them.
Okay, cool. Man, those are some great great musicians.
Yeah, great musicians. And it's nice. I feel like, especially at those times, like this is a much more tame now than I was back in those early years. But with I feel like our hang was a little too extreme.
Oh, your hang?
Talking and just like, we like to laugh and have a great time. And a lot of times I feel like we scared them. They were afraid if there was like an iPhone on or somewhere, they're going to get canceled, or we're just talking about, we're just being funny.
Yeah.
And we got held up for weed on the Canadian border with Alan. That was
Did you
funny.
really?
Well,
I can't believe weed is even something that's like,
this is 2012, and we were, so our drummer literally was, I love how people say weed is not addictive. It's like they clearly didn't hang out with like somebody.
No, weed is addictive, man. I mean, anything can be addictive. Jerking off is addictive. Picking your fingernails, everything's addictive.
Sure.
Do it to your detriment. Sure.
That's right. So this guy was a full-blown weed junkie, and we were about to cross over to Canada. We were just driving from Buffalo to Canada, like by Niagara Falls, and it was like the last stop before the border. And we're like, "Hey, man, do you still have like all your weed?" And it's like, "Yeah." It's like, "You have to get rid of that before we get to the border." It's like, "Oh, no problem." So he goes behind the bathroom and he just smokes all his weed. And he comes back, and he just like the whole van immediately smells like we just slaughtered like a fucking like clan of skunks, like just in the back seat. It just smells so bad. And we're just like, Jesus Christ, what do we do? And they're all just like looking, and yeah, they pulled us over immediately, like got the dogs out. He smoked it all, but yeah, Jimmy Haslip, Bridget Donati, and Alan Holds was just sitting there like looking. I was like, you bunch of fucking morons.
Yeah, because they're older. Nobody wants at my age.
No,
nobody fucking wants to deal with that. It's like, nah.
No, it was a big bummer for them. Yeah, big bummer. Yeah. And then we played the show at U Music in Toronto, and that drummer, he's no longer with us for a long time, but he was he loved being a criminal. He just had to break the law all the time. So we're in this huge, like basically the Canadian Sweetwater.
Okay.
And he steals a pack of glow-in-the-dark orange bass strings. He's a drummer.
And he's a drummer. And, so he's just like,
just for fun, for sport. Yeah. And then we like drive back the day after, and we get a call from the store, and they're like, they're calling Jimmy, and like, your opening band was caught stealing on camera. We're just like, what?
And Jimmy's like such a high level of integrity. He's probably like, horrified at this.
Horrified. And then, but then I just thought how funny it would be if we like show up, if they didn't tell us, and our bassist like changed to like glow in the dark orange bass string, and we got busted that way.
Oh my God! How did they catch you on camera?
Camera, yeah, not me. I mean,
no, not you, but the drummer.
But yeah. He eventually got fired for.
I don't know how you could function smoking that much weed. That's what blows my mind. I mean, you have to be like a champion weed smoker to smoke that much weed and do anything, let alone.
I've seen people really do impressive work with that high weed intake.
I can't even have a conversation. I couldn't.
No, it's very scary sometimes. I wouldn't be able to do it either. I don't play well. I mean, I feel like I connect to my inner Gilmore. I'm like, why am I playing so many notes? It doesn't feel good.
I had a guy come on the show one time, and he was an older guy. He was like my age, maybe a couple of years older. He goes, and he takes an 8 a.m. time slot in LA, which ain't common. And he goes, hey, Craig, can I smoke a joint before I do the show? And I'm like, listen, man, I can't manage my own fucking life. Do not ask me to manage yours, man. Like, whatever. You don't need my permission. Whatever. If you need to, go ahead. It's none of my business.
And how did he function?
He was great.
Good conversation.
Great.
Oh,
I don't know how. I mean, great. I was like, wow. I mean, I'm always marveled at that. Like, I'm retarded.
Yeah. I mean, from the one thing I noticed about myself, every time I like do edibles, I really enjoy talking to my wife. Like all the lack of patience I have, it's like she's like fascinating me when I'm high. It's really weird. Like I feel like we're really talking. We're like, wow, it's like you're here all the time. It's like this is crazy. I need to wonder what other drugs are going to do.
For when you're a kid, you'll need a lot of them. Trust me. Tell me, top 3 musical experiences that you've had.
Top 3 musical experiences. That's a hard one. I don't know. Playing? It's all playing for sure. Well, one that comes to mind, we did the pre-cruise party for Cruise to the Edge 2019, and it was like 2,000 people in the theater. And it's just, to shred improvised fusion solos in front of a sold-out theater, it's just atypical.
Yeah.
And it was just really connecting, like you could see it landing and just landing hard on people. So
was it 2,000 people on that Edge
like
cruise?
A weather report. More. I think it's like 3,500.
Wow. So this was a bunch of people they paid to go see the pre-warm-up in the theater.
So day before the cruise sailed, which we were on, they rented a theater in Tampa, and we played there.
What theater?
Then,
Tampa.
This year.
What? What theater?
It was.
Must have
I
been the
don't
Tampa
remember. It
theater.
wasn't
There's
that
not many Ybor,
Ybor,
in Ybor City, yeah.
area, something.
Ybor City.
Ybor City. One of those there. I think it was like the Ritz or
The
something.
Ritz, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. They hold 2,000 people. Though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool, man.
It was packed. It was big.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Al Meola is actually going to be on the next cruise. He just signed on that.
Is he?
So yeah, it's going to be fun.
I had Al on the show here. It was very interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Another one comes. I mean, that Holdsworth tour was wild. That was it's not one show. It was like 30 shows. But this is the first time. You know, for me, it was the experience. It was to say it was a validating experience is to minimize it. But I feel like as a guitar player, most guitar players never get to have this experience of seeing what you're playing feels like juxtaposed with your heroes every night. It made me really feel like there's nobody hiding in the bushes. Right? It's like if that's Alan Holdsworth, there's not going to be like a YouTube kid that's gonna like, make me feel destroyed. And it was just different. It's just our music just did very different things, and people were really. The fear was that everybody's gonna like, look, what the fuck are these kids? Why do we have to sit through an opener? And then
I think it's a good combo, actually. I think I think Marbin and him is a pretty good combo, actually.
It was great. I feel like there was something similar in the attitude to soloing. Both me and Danny have to, to his, just going for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so those were great shows, just very exciting. And I mean, third, I'm going to have to go. When I was 14, I went to see Metallica in Israel, and that's why I decided to start playing guitar. That was the moment I was like, I showed up. I was just a little kid. I wasn't into music. I showed up in my normal little kid clothes, and I saw like this army of people dressed in black, and I just didn't get the memo that there's a whole outfit that goes with this. I was like, I need to become one of these people. Right. I just knew it. I went to like the CD store and bought Metallica shirts the day after. Started dressing that way. But that set off the whole thing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Danny, low points. Tell me some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
Oh man, I mean, low points in music. There's so many.
Or your personal life, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, in 2015, I got divorced. That was pretty bad.
Sorry about that.
First marriage did not work out. Yeah. It's like a batch of pancakes. You gotta throw out the first one.
Yeah, man.
We were in the studio making.
You got married young.
Aggressive hippies. Yeah, I got married when I was 25.
Yeah, it's young.
First time, and then second time was last year. So
very cool.
It took a little time in between. So yeah, just I think I had a lot of theories about like why things led up to this place where it failed, but I think just touring that much and making and my ex-wife was cool with it, but it just put a pressure on the she basically was single.
Yeah.
That just for like she was 20, and I was gone like all the time.
Yeah. That's a tough thing.
It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
It's not likely that anybody's going to survive through that in reality. It's really hard, especially at a young age like that.
Yeah. And I don't know how I got, time. Actually, I will give people listening and going through hard times some actual piece of advice, not just some bullshit floating in the air. First of all, I mean, time moves whether you like it or not. So that tends to be, that's a cliche, but that tends to be the greatest healer. Here's a piece of non-cliche. A piece of non-cliche if you're going through hard times, especially that are kind of post trauma, breakup, loss of loved ones, and all that. I was listening to this Israeli author. It was a real turning point, actually, in my whole relationship to this thing. Because for years, even like in my relationship now, it was kind of hovering over me in the beginning. Because like divorce is just tough. It really destroys like everything you have. Like you thought your life was one thing, and then it becomes a very different thing very quickly. But this Israeli author, Amos Oz, said something in an interview that just resonated with me. And he said that you can't, how does it go? You can't find in space the things that were lost in time. That's what he said. And the idea is that there's no returning and fixing of things. You can't look for it in the world right now. Like that life, that idea, that dream, that person, that's lost in time already. You can't, all you can do now is this, if you look for that thing lost in time, is just mess up your present. And that to me, like that moment where that landed on me hard was just like a clear cut and really a fresh start,
Yeah.
You see that in a lot of conflicts between people. That's that to linger in a point in time. That's just, you did lose it then, but you can just relive it.
Yeah. I have this thing. You can't connect the dots moving forward.
Right.
So like, you don't know what the benefit of something is when it happens. You will know later. And sometimes it's much later, and sometimes it's 6 months. But there's no way you're going to know what the good comes out of something ahead of time,
right,
when you're going through it. Yeah, I agree with that. And which I think was what he was saying a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there's the music is a very good thing to be in a process with. It doesn't have to be music. Anything where there is growth, actual growth. It's like, I feel like a lot of people, when their body stops growing, they stop growing. It's like you see it a lot with guitarists too. Like they conquer the first hill, which is like getting from not being able to make a note or a chord or a sound to making some notes and some chords and some sounds. And then they retire. They just spend the rest of their time in a sandbox, not realizing that the sandbox is like in the desert. They're just scooping into their little thing,
Yeah.
from around there. But it's so vast. And there's so much to do and such little time to do it. There's like a whole history. There's a culture of songs, of, things to, harmony, rhythm, technique. It's just really endless. So as long as you keep feeding that thing, your life is going to have, your artistic life is going to have momentum.
Sure.
The thing you do tomorrow will have a thing in it that the thing you did yesterday couldn't have because you didn't know it yet. So that's where a lot of the excitement comes from, just getting better.
Were either of your parents, they were academics, you're obviously super growth oriented and super ambitious. Where did that come from?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. It's just, I think I was just always into, I'm not like that in like every field of life, certainly not trying to be the best monkey.
No, but with music, you definitely, with your with your business, which is your vocation and your extreme, that pushing is extremely important to you. I was just curious if you had a role model for that, because usually, nothing against your parents, academics usually are not, again, I don't want to sound horrible like to academics, but academic growth is like, where's my next paper published?
Right.
It's where you're pushing for hardcore, like pain growth.
Well, I think for us, we had the luck of starting in music from really nothing.
Yeah.
Just nobody, and our career was a lot like our practicing, you know what I mean? It's just like, it was a lot like when you just start knowing nothing and you get to a new place and it's exciting, and then it stops being exciting. You can't play an open mic forever.
Yeah.
It's like there needs to be a next stage of this story. And I feel like it just went hand in hand like that. And there's always kind of this curiosity of seeing what the next thing in your playing will be. Now, not talking just about technique or something. It could be, whatever, a thing you do with chords, a thing you do with rhythms. Could be anything. Could be tone. But you need to have ideas about where this thing is going, and you need to have bits of new information, but also at the same time not be too nerdy with it. Like, actually, the way I look at practicing is I try to solve problems as they emerge, right? I go to a show and something is not working. When this chord comes, piece of the fretboard turns dark, or I feel lost when this happened, or I don't have enough things in that groove, or there are these, and I make mental notes on what to work on to where it's getting me to be a better player of the music I play. But the gigs and the practice need to be tied together.
Sure.
So I don't really see my growth practicing very separate than what you'd consider my career.
Yeah. You're practicing to further what you're doing on stage, your performance, which makes total sense, which all the top pros pretty much do. That no one I have had on the show here who's a seasoned pro that's got 12 albums, 3 albums, let alone 12, is like, I want to get better at playing at fucking Mixolydian mode. They're like,
that's right.
I need to get this performance down better and these chord changes or whatever. Like you said, I thought it was really a very good analogy. The fretboard goes dark when I do this. How do I keep the light shining?
It's exactly that. And I think now the temptation to see it with young players is that YouTube lessons create the illusion that you can be a lot of things together at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, if I practice hard, I'll be Alan Holdsworth, El Di Meola, and Paco de Lucia, and the greatest chicken picker. It's like, each one of these things taken to down the path leads you to a place where you're either going to go the road of the psychopath and just become an impersonator, not an imitator, an impersonator.
Yeah.
Or you're going to just be like, I understand. These are tools. I need to just I need to communicate my ideas. Doesn't matter if I do it finger picking with a pick, playing legato, playing high gain, playing clean guitar. Those are circumstantial and not that important of distinctions. Again, everybody chooses what they like, but at the end of the day, if you are not, it's like Bukowski hanging over your head said, you need to be the hero of your own shit.
Yeah, totally.
He said that. And that's what you need to do. You need to be the hero of your own shit. You need to, and a lot of people now are preaching against the ego to a fault. There is something to that, but the fault becomes when you forget that people are seeing you playing. Yeah. And that you need to just be true to your ideas, and ideas are a big word, but in improvising, all you have, don't think about the word idea, think about the word occurrence. Things occur to you. It's an idea presenting itself in time. Yeah. And as you play, doesn't matter on that A minor chord, a certain thing is fated to happen. Something will pop into your mind. And if there's another voice that is saying that is not a Holdsworth thing to do, let's do this pattern starting from A instead, then you are in fact being totally inauthentic and a piece of shit nobody wants to listen to. Because it's just not how you play. You just got to ride the waves that actually come, not these chunks of things you studied because you think they're hip. There's a lot of victims of hipness. That's basically, that's what New York City is.
Well, it's interesting. Well, also, I think the problem is a lot of how people are judged now is based on it's a totally different system. It's like, oh, look at the YouTube channel. How many subscribers do they have? Oh, this person must be amazing. So the goal is not to be a better player. It's to get more subscribers. And there's a lot of different ways of doing that, including, like dressing half naked, so if you're a lot of women do that, and,
Sure.
And it works because if their goal is to get more subscribers, they got more subscribers than most guys I know.
Yeah, but that's a very silly goal. The goal is to, I will tell you the goal. The goal hasn't changed ever. The goal is to do what you want to do the way you want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? That's that, and and make a living
Yeah.
doing that. It's like, to me, that seems to be a very simple kind of goal. I want to play the music that I write the way I want to play it.
Well, it's tangible also. You can do
Yeah,
that.
I
Anybody
mean,
could accomplish that.
and but again, I see if playing music doesn't make you happy, then you shouldn't be doing this at all. You shouldn't figure out a way to just make a buck. You should find something that makes you happy. Just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Sell
Be an
some
accountant.
guitars to Reverb.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do the thing. Like, you're not locked into this. I know a lot of people who were happy for a time and stopped being happy and are so insistent in such a destructive way on pursuing this because all their Facebook friends see them as the guitar player.
Yeah.
And like, that you just don't have a business being the guitar player anymore. Cut that fucking hair, get a job, sell all that shit, and be happy. Like, just go back to your wife.
Go
be
back
with her on the
landscaping
weekends.
or whatever it is. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like, that's fine. It's no pressure, have a good life. Like, just if you want to do this and you love doing it, then do that. It's freedom is a wonderful thing, but people put themselves in these boxes that they can't climb out of.
Yeah.
Not a good thing to do.
Hey, I want to talk about gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar right now? And what other two would round out your top three? I see you playing mostly Strats.
So I play a Sur Strat.
Right.
That's my go-to, and I've been playing them for a long time. Before that was Strats. I love all single coils, and I do need kind of a specific setup with noiseless, hum canceling single coils, which is not every maker takes care of that side of it. But I'm actually in talks with this builder out in New York who's going to make me a guitar. His name is, it's actually kind of a crazy looking guitar. I'm on my phone just to find his name because I forgot it. But which is not a good sign. But we just talked last week because I was very frustrated with some of the, let's say, customer service type things in the company. His name's Ricky Barlow. I don't know if you're familiar with Barlow guitars.
Don't know.
Just gorgeous guitar. So he might we're talking about coming up with like a Strat kind of design. But yeah, so
your Sur, is that
always Strats for Marbin?
I'm sorry. Is your Sur, that's beat up as hell? That's legit, or is that relic?
Yeah. It started off a little bit relic.
Yeah, okay, that's
very relic.
Oh, it looks beautiful, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's big frets, pretty straight fretboard, like 16 radius. I don't like the curves that a lot of people now are getting back into. So yeah, that's my main thing. And then I use their amps too. I actually use a custom audio electronics 100-watt head that
100 watts. Designed. Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I play with like a plexiglass to relax it, but when you're playing with a dirty sound and with a lot of with reverbs and delays, if you don't have the headroom, it's kind of like their ambient effects are glued to your sound in a way that I really like them floating above there. So that's a big thing for me. And then I have like a pedal board that my friend Mason Marangella over at Vertex Effects built for me.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Which is the Rig Doctor. And here, I'll show you. Looks like that monstrosity over there.
But what's that guitar? It looks like a jazz box.
Yeah, that's D'Angelico. I have a lot of guitars, and then I have a lot of like nice old gypsy jazz guitars. I actually just bought a German maker made it. I bought it from the great grandson of Django Reinhardt, from Nando Reinhardt.
Oh, that's cool.
This old guitar. Yeah, so that's coming here in the mail. It's like another.
Oh, that's a nice package to look forward to. Yeah,
one of the good ones.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I have some pedals. Now I'm running kind of a wet dry rig. with Sur Badger and the Custom Audio Electronics OD100. And yeah, but it's nothing too crazy, just distortion pedals, boosts, delay, reverb for the most
you're
part.
not heavy on effects or anything. I noticed that you're playing pretty true tone. All your is it all like sunburst? Most of your guitars are sunburst, I think, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I have like one yellow one. I really like the ones that are sunbursts with the layer of color over that are like peeling off.
Yeah, that's a new thing that looks pretty cool. Any
I haven't had one of those.
What's the last thing you listened to, music wise?
Ooh, John Prine's first album. Are you familiar?
You know what? I'm not a big John Prine guy, not because I don't like him. I just never really listened to a lot of it. I've had so many people on the show talk about him. I need to check him out.
That first album is so good. Sam Stone. Oh my God.
It's on my list now.
About like a Vietnam vet coming home and getting on heroin.
I'll check it out.
It's like one of the lines of the chorus is there's a hole in Daddy's arm where the money goes. And Jesus
Holy
Christ
shit.
died for nothing, I suppose.
Wow, that's intense. Wow. There's a hole in Daddy's arm where the money goes. That's intense.
It's good lyrics. Deep.
Give me your top 3 Desert Island discs just for this minute. Like right now.
I would say right now, okay. Definitely the songs of Leonard Cohen, the first Leonard Cohen album. I'd certainly take that. I'll take the first Chris Christopherson album and probably a Hank Williams Senior collection.
Wow, I wasn't expecting either of those.
Yeah, I love those.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned before Rage Against the Machine. So I saw a few years back, I took both of my sons and we saw, what's the new band? With Be Real is the singer and Chuck D instead of Zach. You know, it's not Rage Against the Machine. It's something Rage. It's embarrassing. I don't remember. But man, it was such a different vibe without Zach. It was total. It was, you know,
I mean, I'm sure.
Really, it was
capitalist communists. My favorite thing was, did you see that Tom Morello had that video where he's like trying to
I didn't trust teachers.
Yeah,
I didn't trust the establishment. Right. Yeah.
The best thing I saw was some of those who wore crosses were the same who sold courses.
I didn't see that. That's very funny. That is real. Well, you know, someone made a point one day that he was going on a rant about everybody, you know, all these people that are playing with effects aren't being genuine. And somebody was like, stop. It's like, just you. I mean, his whole thing is he's great. I mean, he's like, you know, got his own sound built exclusively with a phenomenal way of using effects. Right. You know, that'd be like the Edge saying, you know, anybody who uses delay pedal isn't like genuine. I mean, that's his, he would never say that. That's his, he created a specific style with delay and other effects that
maybe he wanted to check if his tweeter is working.
I don't know, man, but it was, that's funny. Some of those, that's funny. I got to look for that. Danny, tell me something you want that you don't have now. Could be something tangible, could be a state of mind, a habit, or a change you want to adopt, or something, new way of looking at something, new way of thinking.
I want to get back into doing yoga. I was so good for so long, and I just kind of fell off the yoga wagon. I need to get back to stretching and breathing all the time. That really makes me feel good.
So are you going to move
off the wagon
to the West Coast?
No, but I'm gonna start a granola and Pilates habit.
I think you need to.
No, but it does make me feel good. And about a month ago, I kind of hurt my knee and I stopped doing it. It's been just really hard to kick it back into the habit. But today, I'm going to start again.
Right on, man. Today,
mark my words.
Today I'm starting. Today. I like that, man.
Yes.
Best decision you ever made?
Start playing guitar.
makes you happy?
Guitar.
What do you like most about yourself? Don't fucking say guitar. My guitar playing.
That I'm good at guitar. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That's what you like most about yourself? No.
Yeah, of course.
How could you be such a deep guy? But these are like very myopic.
That's the deepest thing. Well, this is my journey this is my internal journey that leads outwards eventually.
All right.
It's the gateway from which I am tapped to the universe, man.
That was a deep statement there. Something you miss from your childhood?
Israel, very much. I miss. It's no place to play music, but it's the hang, the people, just the social aspects of living there. Very isolated living in the States. You know,
really
kinda,
interesting.
Yeah, stick to themselves. Friendships, mine at least, you know, are good. Some are great, but just not. It feels like everything's like a few feet farther apart. You know.
Interesting. So it's more, people are more involved in communal in Israel.
Yeah, there's more. It's just closer relationships, for better or worse. I mean,
yeah,
again, I feel like I've been here for so long. I'm a little bit, used to the way things are here. I think even if I go back, I'm not gonna really understand the distance.
Wow, interesting.
Distance.
Are you going to take once your daughter's born, are you going to go bring her back to Israel? What if you decide, hey man, we're going back to Israel like 2 weeks after she's born, and you just repeat history? Any possibility?
No, but I mean, again, there's big sacrifices that were made for my career, you know, and for being able to do this music thing. And Israel is not a place where there are, maybe tens of thousands of people who like jazz in the country. It's not enough to have a career.
It's interesting because I've had so many really good guitarists from Israel on the show, and they all pretty much said the same thing. It's just a tough place. It's, and they all said, the top, it's limited, how high you can go. They'd rather be your ability to become better here play with better people is a lot more frequent.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's a non-issue because I'm never looking to be a sideman in any kind of project. It's just not a part of what I do. But cost of living is very high, and you get paid much less. Yeah. And the market is smaller.
Yeah. Do you know Guy King?
Yeah.
You do?
I know him. I never met him.
Yeah, he's in Israel.
Of him.
He's from Israel, but he's in Chicago.
We talked online. He's in Chicago. I know.
Yeah, nice guy.
With Marbin, we played over at Andy's a bunch of times, which is a jazz club in Chicago, and he plays there too. So and we connected a few times online, but we never actually met.
Yeah, good guy.
I don't know. That last name is not very Jewish, so I'm not sure which part of Israel he's actually from.
Guy King, the last name is not Jewish. Probably what do they call a pseudonym or something?
Yeah, probably.
Well, I had a guy on the show. Yeah. Sean do you know Sean Hurwitz?
No.
He plays for Smash Mouth, and obviously Sean is not his proper first name. He's from Israel as well.
Oh, okay.
And when I asked him about it, he goes,
"It's his
SEA," and he goes, "I think he said something like it was the first name I saw when I came to America, so I pulled it."
We were playing the Mesa Theater in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I just remember they put Smash Mouth was playing the theater the night before us, and the marquee though looked like the way that was they put it there. It looked like Smash Mouth was opening for us. And I took a picture of it, and our social blew up. It was priceless.
That's hilarious. Priceless. That's amazing. Most important thing your dad taught you?
Ooh. Oh man, my dad taught me a lot of things. But there's one saying that really helped me out. really helped me out in the music world, which is Lo Molshimim Zonabe Zayin. And it means that you can't impress a hooker with a big dick, which makes you.
And your
really,
dad told you that?
yeah, but it's really good because you know,
God.
a lot of people shoot their energy toward other musicians. Like, you know, I want you to be my fan, but you are not going. You know, it's like most guitarists. Or most fellow guitarists, colleagues, people who you hold in high esteem are not going to become your fans. The audience will become your fans.
Correct.
You know? So you got to take your big dick and show it to somebody who would be impressed with it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And most important thing your mom taught you. She didn't teach you anything about that.
No, none of that. Most important thing my mom taught me. I think my it was a joke, by the way, with my dad. The most important thing, both, I don't know if both my parents, I will say this, had, I think, very oppressive childhoods with their parents, and they really brought me up in a way to appreciate and understand freedom. They were not hovering around me. They let me make my own choices. They were super supportive. And it was all, just like I said about like jazz music, like freedom within structure. It was within, even when I was like going through a divorce and wilding out 6 nights a week and just making bad decisions, I had a very good internal boundary that I never would cross. I was totally safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could just be in the world, make good, bad decisions, you know, just be safe. So I just know what too much is. And I think they both just did a very good job with me, just kind of really drawing the edges of where you go. You know?
And not repeating the cycle.
Difference between good and bad. Right.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
So
you know
I think that's all you can ask for from parents.
That's the number one thing good guitar players have in common is supportive families. Number one by far.
Yeah.
Just a few more questions. Do you have any hobbies outside of music and guitar?
No.
Well, I guess yoga.
Yeah, I guess so. I wouldn't do it if my
that
body
was a
just
shy
stayed.
yes.
I mean, I do like. I like folk music. I like singing. I like playing acoustic guitar, gypsy jazz. I see that as a hobby.
That's funny.
To me, it's like fusion gets to be just like, you know, when it's all you do, it gets to be too much. So it's more like different kinds of music or what I do with my free time. Like I spent a long time learning some Johnny Cash and John Prine songs yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Just
I am going to listen to that first.
Committing songs to memory is something I do.
That's good.
Great. Sam Stone, it's a good place to start. Or Spanish Pipe Dream. That's about the American dream, really.
Tell me the toughest decision you had to make or the most difficult thing you had to do.
It was hard to choose, you know, after being divorced, and being like running around free and touring, to just draw a line and then be like, okay, enough of that. I'm gonna stop fucking around and be a serious person again, you know.
Yeah.
And get married, start a family.
Hard to like trust having a relationship again.
Yeah. Just to pull yourself out of the mire of that, because it's very addictive. You know, it's like there's something in that lifestyle that, like, for a man, I mean, I've never been a woman, but I'm guessing for a man, it's hard to just
in case somebody was wondering,
it's working.
Just to qualify, in case people were saying, "Well, how does he know?"
One these days,
yeah, these right. Days.
Yeah. But you know, when things are, to realize that certain lifestyles can be very fun and very bad for you, and just, you know, turn away from that in time.
Good for you, man.
Like I did.
Good, right on.
Yeah.
And any final words of wisdom?
I would say ask real questions about the quality of things. I think that's the wisest thing you can do as a listener, as a creator. You just need to be in dialogue with quality. That's what matters. What matters is, and I don't mean that like, who has the most chops. Obviously, that's a straw man argument of that thing. It's about what has the actual fire of music, right? What has the thing in it that is truly beautiful and important, and spend time with that kind of music and make that kind of music. And if you don't have the ability to do it right now, then put yourself on a path to where you one day could.
Thank you, man. That was very good. Very sincere. Man, I appreciate your time. Let me tell people where to find you and what you got going on. All right. Please check out Marbin, Marbin. They are a fantastic band. If you like jazz or rock, you're going to really dig them. And Danny's a great guitar player. And I'm not saying this because he's here. I'm saying it because I really think he's a great guitar player. And the music they make is really cool. Bandcamp, you can check them out on Bandcamp. All their EPs and LPs are on Bandcamp. And also most of their stuff is on Apple and as well as Spotify. Follow them on Facebook. It's Marbin Music, Marbin Music, and also subscribe to them on YouTube, Marbin Music. Also, they have a bunch of shows coming up, and you can find them on marbinmusic.com/shows. Just go to Marbin Music and I think it's tour or something like that, or shows. But they have a tour coming up throughout the East Coast, and we're going to do West Coast or Midwest after first of the year.
We're doing so I'm gonna wait till my baby's born in October,
right on,
then be home for 2 months, and then we're going for the whole month of January to the West Coast.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And also, if you are interested in working with Danny on guitar lessons, hit him up. It's marbinmusic@gmail.com, and he can help you with that. Anything else, man, that you want me to mention or talk about with the band?
I think we're good. I mean, if you guys are broke and listen to Spotify and are into streaming, we're on there too. We decided to join the machine and the beast, so you can stream us there, and we'll make a few percents of a nickel per stream. So in 1,000 years, I'll buy you an ice cream.
All right, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. Thanks very much to Dani Rabin for his time. Again, check out Marbin on Bandcamp or Spotify or Apple. Follow them on Facebook at Marbin Music. Subscribe to their YouTube channel, and you can check out where they're touring on marbinmusic.com, and hit Danny up if you're interested in Skype lessons, marbinmusic@gmail.com. And most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Danny, thanks a bunch for everything, man.
Thank you, Greg.